Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Hard Things Podcast. This is your host, Blaine Burgess, and this is episode 59, titled Stolen Valor. I don't know why I said it all aggressive like that, but it is a funny concept that I've been noodling for the last week or so, and we're gonna hop into it. So, this podcast is also special for a couple reasons. One being, it is the last in my shitty little Dallas studio apartment that I started out in. I think on the podcast I've described it before as kind of like Rocky Balboa's apartment when he first starts out in the first Rocky movie. Man, no frills. Got a tiny oven / kitchenette literally in my bedroom, like right next to my bed. Tiny little bathroom, tiny little closet. It's not anything to write home about, but it got me through this past year. And the first year of chiropractic school is definitely one I'll never forget. Definitely one that has shaped me. If you want to hear someone go through a straight up mental breakdown and find their way through it, this is the show for you. Go back, listen to episode 1 and listen to it all the way through. You'll have a hell of a time. It's very entertaining. Hours upon hours of entertainment. Got this point approaching episode 60. That would be about 20 hours of entertainment. So you're welcome. I've almost talked for a straight up entire day about random bullshit. I'm going to have to tally up the total time at some point. Anyways, 2 minutes in. Let's get to the point. So yeah, it's special because this is the last one I'm recording in my shitty apartment. I'm moving out Saturday, technically. And yeah. Moving to an apartment complex about a half mile from Deep Ellum, downtown Dallas. Don't ask me how I got it for the same price. It's also a studio, but there's 100 extra square feet. The back door opens to the grill and pool area. And everything is just built in like the 2010s, or it's just all updated. The one I'm living in now, it's like an 80s bomb shelter kind of deal. So I'm moving forward in time about 25 years. Washer dryer in unit. It's a little thing to be excited about, but I'm telling you, after using a laundromat for a year, don't. I don't know. I might still use a laundromat. Who knows? It's bigger machines. Gets my shit done in like an hour. I got big clothes because I'm a big guy. Anyways. If you can't tell, I'm excited about the new place. And this is definitely the end of an era. As we head into June, it's now May 29th. As we head into June, summer season, June, July, August. It's going to get real hot here in Texas. And my next podcast is going to be it won't be from my new apartment. I do have to hold over at a undisclosed location for about 3 weeks and move in June 22nd. So don't worry, folks. If you're worried I'm not homeless, I do have a place to stay, and we will keep it moving. And June is honestly the busiest month for school. So all this chaos, of course, happening the most important time, setting myself up for success for the rest of this trimester in June. So June's going to be a hot month in a lot of ways. Anyways, back to stolen valor. I got on this topic because I went to see my barber on Saturday. And the last time he cut my hair, he made me look like a military veteran. It's something that happens pretty easily for me. I get kind of tan, especially I cut weight for my last weightlifting meet, so I was like 242, looking pretty lean and mean, and just look like a military veteran. I just look. Someone even told me I sound like it, and I'm not. So that's what I mean by stolen valor. You know, someone who did a duty for our country and suffered through trials and tribulations, came home, maybe doesn't get thanked. And I swear on everything, about 3 or 4 times this past weekend, people stopped me and thanked me for my service. All because of my haircut. This guy made me look like a veteran. And then I told him, I'm like, hey, Memorial Day's coming on Monday. Maybe, tone it down on the, veteran vibes. Just give me a good fade, but like, and maybe it's just me, maybe it's my mustache, maybe it's how jacked I am at the moment. Not really anyone's fault, but the guy did give me the exact same haircut, even though I kind of said like, hey, let's kind of shape it a little different. So yeah, I walked around all weekend and got thanked for my service and had to make sure that I corrected them. Told them like, hey, my grandfather served in the Navy, but I almost went, but I didn't. Almost only counts in horseshoes and hand grenades. So, stolen valor was kind of on my mind. And there's been a couple of topics that have sprung off of that. One is cheating in relationships. Don't ask me why it came to mind. I think the episode last week, Assholes Finished First, talking about people who just kind of do what they want, maybe lean into their feelings rather than waiting for the dust to settle and use logic. Stolen valor, actually meant to pull up the definition of valor because I think it's important to define what the hell I'm talking about. So I'm going to pull it up. But in the meantime, what does cheating have to do with stolen valor or being a military veteran? So I think to pursue any relationship, whether it be a young man or woman entering the military, making a commitment to something, commitment to, family, whether it's your given family, the family you were born into, or your chosen family, a loved one, a relationship, a spouse, partner, whoever it may be. It could be work, relationship. Doesn't even have to be like cheating. I think valor means strength of mind or spirit that enables a person to encounter danger with firmness, personal bravery. And I kind of thought to myself, like, why am I so hesitant to take credit for being in the military? I think for one, it's because I had the opportunity to go myself. I had a professor in undergrad at Harvard that was a professor at the Naval War College. Naval War College is where you go to become, basically you get a master's of some type, and then you get commissioned into the Navy as an officer. And from there, as an officer, you can do all kinds of stuff, go everywhere. And of course, every guy's like, I'm going to be a SEAL officer. And like, honestly, no, you're not. But like SEAL officers, like, you think it's hard to just be a Navy SEAL as an enlisted person, like just a regular guy off the street who's not an officer. Officers got to go like 2, 3, 4, 5 times as hard. And there's less spots, from what I understand. So basically, no, wasn't happening. And that's like what I would have wanted to do. And for some reason, I just turned away from going to the Naval War College. Felt better to go home and go to Rogue Fitness, where my CrossFit and fitness journey eventually started. So overall, I think right decision. To be honest, the state that my body and my mental health was in at that time, it's basically dishonorable discharge waiting to happen. So I made the right decision. But because I would have respected myself so much had I made that decision, I cannot steal the valor, the strength of mind or spirit that someone has to have to become an officer in any military branch, or even just an enlisted person, sometimes the enlisted person need more bravery because they're the front line. I mean, the officers sending the guys into battle, those guys are the ones doing the work. Oftentimes, hopefully the officer's leading from the front, but very dangerous to be an infantryman or otherwise. So I have strength of mind or spirit for other things. And if someone tried to take credit for my work in those fields, I would say that's not the right thing to do. Now, whatever reason they're doing that for, who knows? Not my place to necessarily police them. I think karma comes back to get people like that. And such, I do not want that karma on me, so I will correct people. When it comes to relationships, I think the strength of spirit that you need to have to just like duke it out with someone, to be intimate for that long, to see all the darkest parts of someone and not look away. Like, relationships are gritty, they're nasty. And I think if someone, if you just go out and get drunk and sleep with someone and they're in a relationship, that karma definitely is negative for both of those people. But also, it just kind of dishonors, all the work that those people put into that relationship, no matter what's happening between them. When emotions are running high, some bad shit happened. That just doesn't seem like the answer, to let someone else have the fruits of the labor. And we can get into a whole conversation about, people's bodily autonomy, and you can do whatever you want with your body. And it's true. I do believe, especially women, people shame women for being promiscuous, but it is their choice to do what they want with their body. But also, there's consequences for everything we do, whether you do it or you don't. If you don't cheat on someone, the consequence is you got to be able to stay intimate and grow in that relationship, or maybe it'll stagnate. So that's a consequence. And the consequence of stepping outside of it is that you could lose all that time and hard work, and all the valor that you put into that relationship can be kind of lost in an instant. And if not lost, at least heavily jeopardized and called into question. So, and again, we can apply, that's just like leaning heavily on romantic relationships. Like, you can say family, you can say, employers. I think a lot of times employers use leverage of, financial burden to kind of put people in tough positions. And all of the, strength that someone's put into their job and their love and their passion and their effort, in a second, if the compensation, not even financial, but it could be like a time off situation, it could be health insurance coverage, it could be whatever. If you weaponize any of those things against someone who has worked really hard for you, that's stealing that valor. So you can kind of see what I'm getting at here. And then last but not least, I actually was reminded of a great example. So kind of the Dark Knight trilogy, Christopher Nolan. And I think of Stolen Valor in terms of Batman in the second and third movies. So second movie, Batman kind of takes the rap for Harvey Dent. So Harvey Dent becomes Two-Face, loses Rachel, kind of goes off the deep end. You see the White Knight kind of fall, and you see the Dark Knight rise. But he basically steps in because he can and takes on the, kind of the responsibility, the weight of, what had happened. Whereas Harvey Dent kind of had the stolen valor, He died, but after he had killed some people and tried to kill Commissioner Gordon's family. But they had to praise him because publicly he was the hero, and that was the story they needed to tell to put people in jail and get everything. The real story was much messier and harder to understand, and people would get confused. And Batman as a vigilante, it's just easier to throw into the bus. So that's another instance of stolen valor. I think that's why people love this story so much, because when the third movie comes around, the truth kind of gets outed, and Harvey Dent was a bad guy. They put everyone in jail under him and his memory, and really, it was Dent that did it, not Batman. And Batman's still a vigilante, so it kind of makes people, down and out a little bit. It makes you feel like, man, if that guy, wasn't really the good guy, then who really is? Is anyone even a good guy? And it's really easy to get bogged down under the weight of everyone's collective shadow. Because, Harvey Dent, his shadow got exacerbated by great tragedy. But even Batman, for all the good that he does, is a vigilante, has that dark side. And I think the difference is Batman's dark side's controlled. He has rules about no killing. And that's kind of the moral of it. And you talk about all of the heroes that do that. I mean, you have Captain America, you have Superman. So across different comics, a lot of superheroes won't kill. That's kind of the difference between a anti-hero or a villain turned good or whatever, and a true hero is they don't kill. Killing's kind of like the one thing they won't do. Like, they'll beat the shit out of you, but make sure you serve time in jail or whatever it may be. And there are instances where death happens and it's unavoidable. But in the second Batman, Batman could have easily let Joker fall. Doesn't. He snips him up. And they put him away. So all that to say, instead of stealing valor, this is how we're going to end. Instead of stealing valor or being envious or jealous of other people's valor, my question is, how can you yourself find something that you love enough to develop a great strength of mind or spirit to encounter danger? Find that personal bravery. What is it in your life that you're going to do? And it doesn't have to be big. If we all just developed some valor in our lives for something, take responsibility for a little corner of the world. That's why, you'll hear, again, bringing it back to Navy SEALs, like Admiral McRaven, he would say, make your bed. And that's your little bit of valor. And that little bit of valor just makes you feel good. And you go out in the world, and maybe you create another little piece. And you could have 1,000 little valors that add up to one big one. Or you could wait your whole life and do nothing of meaning if you sacrifice yourself at the end in a way that benefits the world to a great degree. That counts too. Or you could do both all the time, as much as you can, as much as you have energy for. If you're alive and that ticker's ticking, your heartbeat's going, you can always make a choice to face danger, be strong, be brave in the face of fear. So those are just some ideas, a lot to mull over and related to stolen valor. But once again, how can you create your own valor? Next week, I kind of just caught a whiff. I think we're going to get into envy and jealousy a little bit, and maybe expand on the topic of, instead of being jealous of someone else's valor, what they might have, formulating a plan for creating your own. So that'll be next week. Until then, see y'all next time.